Howdy folks, I'm no-nonsense Northern Crescent, noisily nagging neighborhood nuisances.
I'm Amber.
And here are more neighborhood nuisances for us to nag. We're nagging them and to save you the time and effort to do that on your own. So let's get started. Turns out they were just Reddit people. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Husband to Choose Between Me and His Smart Home Obsession? I'm a 33-year-old female and I've been married to Alex for 5 years. He was always into tech, which was always fine, but the last couple of years he's gotten out of control with his obsession with making the house smart. It started innocently with some smart bulbs and a video doorbell, but now everything in our house needs an app or a voice command to work. Every door has a smart lock and every window has smart blinds and every outlet has a smart switch, and there are smart sensors on all of the faucets, and he even got a smaller toilet that I can't figure out how to flush without my phone. I'm way past asking. Well, yesterday was my breaking point. I left work early with a terrible migraine and my phone was almost dead at 2% battery. All I wanted to do was get inside, take my meds, and rest in the dark. But our Wi-Fi was down, so the smart lock wouldn't open. And my phone died before I could try the backup cellular system that he had installed. I had to sit on our front porch in the sun with my migraine for 2 hours waiting for Alex to return. He had disabled the regular key lock because it was a quote-unquote security vulnerability. I borrowed our neighbor's phone to call him, but he was in meetings with his phone on Do Not Disturb. When he finally arrived, instead of apologizing, he got excited about adding more backup systems to prevent this from happening again. He completely missed that I don't want more tech solutions. I just want to enter my house without needing an app. This morning made things worse. I couldn't make coffee because he had replaced our normal coffee maker with a smart fancy one that learns our preferences, but needs Wi-Fi to work, which was still down. Even the microwave was unusable because it's connected to his system. I snapped and I told him that he needs to choose between me or his smart home obsession. I'm done living in a house where I need tech support just to turn on the lights or use the bathroom. He got defensive, saying that I'm being dramatic and should appreciate how he's improving our home. He claims that I'm holding back progress, and this is how all homes will be soon. Here's the thing, I'm a software developer myself, so I understand home automation. But this isn't about convenience anymore, it feels obsessive and controlling. He spent thousands on this system and keeps adding more complicated features. Am I the jerk for giving this ultimatum? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. This is your house too, and it needs to be livable. Frankly, this sounds like a nightmare. Like, I wouldn't want to live there. And so when you're making such drastic changes to a house, it needs to be both people have to agree to it. This clearly isn't working for you, and adding more tech that can fail is not going to fix the issue.
Well, I think that's what it boils down to. I think you kind of hit the main point. This is a house that they're both living in, and OP is no longer comfortable living in it and can hardly live in it because she can't even get into it when the systems break down. That's not, at that point, not a home. That's a prison almost, right? I don't know. Like, if you aren't able to use the house, if it's not usable, then that's a big problem. There always needs to be like some kind of analog backup, and OP's husband is mistaken because these smart devices often have a lot of security vulnerabilities, and to say that that the analogs are all less secure, that's just completely untrue, right?
Right. Like, yeah, sure, someone can brute force your way through your front door, but they have to be physically at your house to do that. If your door opens via like some electronic lock, anyone, with internet could access your house.
And I mean, I think we all learned from the 80s with the Kool-Aid Man that no house is safe anyways, because you could have the Kool-Aid Man bust through your wall at any point in time. So, I mean, I think that the moral of the story is that there's always a way inside of a house, no matter how secure you make it. The best you can do is make it a deterrent, right? And I think that's really what it boils down to more than anything. And the fact that he's out here, this is borderline like an unhealthy obsession. I mean, maybe this might even need like counseling or couples counseling or something like that, because he just seems to, it's nice to have passion projects, and it's clear that this is like a passion project for him, but maybe he can contain that to like his room,
right?
his office.
Well, that's the thing. He also is completely like perturbed by OP's discomfort. He's just like, ooh, yay, more chance to project, and not thinking about, I'm actually making my house unlivable for my wife.
It's like one of those like movies where you have that like the almost mad science type person whose inventions all are like some elaborate thing that always fail or something like that, and it's just like it never works properly, and you're like, I just want something to work properly here.
Yeah, or you're like, you need like to operate a whole Rube Goldberg machine to get into the refrigerator.
That's the word I was actually looking for, is Rube Goldberg machine. Like, yeah, I mean, at a certain point, it's just not fun anymore, and it makes everyone else's life an inconvenience. And, you know, again, like, I think OP setting this down and saying, you either pick me or your home improvements, is not an unreasonable place to be. I don't like ultimatums, but maybe this is going to open the door for them to actually go to couples counseling.
Right. Well, and again, he's not concerned about her at all to this point, so I think he needs to realize how serious this is and how much she is being harmed by this.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Impish Mike says, not the jerk, and tell him that you're taking his lead and replacing him with a vibrator and divorce papers. It's ridiculous not to have a fail-safe for when tech doesn't work. And Weird Bluebird 3293 says, this technology can be helpful, but it can and does crash, and in that instance, you need a backup. Not more technology, just a simpler analog fail-safe. I work in a hospital, and our computers have gone down occasionally, and we have files of paper documentation when it happens. OP's husband has become entirely too dependent on this. Having a basic key to get in the house is not a security vulnerability, it's a basic necessity. You know, I need more tech to protect our house. From now on, we're installing some lasers at the front door so that when someone tries to get in that's not supposed to, we'll shoot them with the lasers too. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And Simone Queen says, not the jerk, this is my actual nightmare. I would make the same ultimatum. And Arctic Fox 12 says, same, bring back dials and real buttons. And Looping Wolf says, as someone who just spent 2 days without working Wi-Fi, I can't imagine being this dependent on my local network. I was plenty annoyed that I could only watch Antenna TV and don't want to overuse my phone streaming data. I can't imagine being actually locked out of a simple device like a coffee maker or microwave, let alone my own front door. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Boyfriend That I Don't Want Him to Be the Birth Partner for His Pregnant Female Friend? I'm a 23-year-old female, and I've been with my boyfriend, a 25-year-old male, for about a year and a half. And we live together, and things have been pretty good. He's really loyal and protective of the people he cares about, especially family. That's part of why the situation feels so complicated. He has a close female friend, a 25-year-old female, who he's known for years. They've never dated, but she used to be involved with his younger brother. Their friendship predates her going out with his brother. She's now also friends with the brother that she used to date, but nowhere near as close as she is to my boyfriend. I've never really suspected anything going on between them, but I can admit that it took me a little while to get used to dating a guy who had a really close female friend. I've just never really experienced that before. They talk all the time, and I'll hear their voice randomly, and he's listening to her audio messages that he'll send her, and she's always having problems with her guy, and relies on him to coach her through it or pull her off the edge. He has guy friends too, and she hangs out with that whole group. She's one of those girls, if you know what I mean. She's also good friends with his female cousin, so she's pretty woven into their family circle. She got pregnant by a boyfriend that she hadn't been with for too long. At first, he talked a big game and seemed supportive. But when she was around 4 months pregnant, he said that he wasn't ready to be a dad and basically vanished. Well, a few weeks ago, she asked my boyfriend to be her birth partner. Be in the delivery room, coach her through labor, and cut the cord, the whole thing. He said yes without even telling me beforehand. Well, when he told me, I was kind of astounded. Childbirth is super intimate, and it felt wrong that he would take on that role for another woman. He said that I was being insecure and selfish, and that she doesn't have anyone else she trusts. I reminded him that she dated his brother, and she's also close with his cousin, and she also has female friends or family, right? Why him? I can't imagine asking a male friend of all people. He said that I was being territorial and that I wouldn't understand unless I was in her shoes. I asked if he would be okay with me doing that for a male friend for childbirth, if that were a thing, and he said that's not fair because it could just never happen. Honestly, this has been messing with me way more than I thought. I kept replaying conversations in my head, wondering if I'm just paranoid, wondering if I'm misjudged, and that everything between them isn't as innocent as I thought. I also don't want to be this nagging, controlling girlfriend. I feel like if he was forced to choose, he would pick her and their friendship over me. So it's hard to sleep or relax. I want to support him, but it feels like I'm losing him to her somehow, and that hurts. Now she's cold towards me, and he's upset that I'm not being more supportive. I do feel bad for her. She made the decision to keep the baby with this guy who said that he would be there, and she couldn't know that he would just up and leave. I told him that I'm not forbidding him, but I'm being honest about how uncomfortable this makes me. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. And it seems like there's a clear double standard here, where when OP tried to posit the hypothetical scenario of like, what if I did this for a guy friend, and he's just like, well, that's different because it couldn't happen.
Why couldn't it happen?
Well,
Why couldn't it happen? Even if they were together, she has guy friends, right?
I'm assuming that he meant because like the OP being a birth partner to a man giving birth, which if he's cis is not a thing that can happen.
But what I'm saying is, like, she's a woman, right?
Yeah, there could be an analogous situation.
Yeah.
Like he was just dismissing out of hand the reverse situation, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I think OP was saying, what if OP wanted to have a male friend?
So I assumed that it was just like, what if I was the birth partner to a guy, and he was like, well, it can't happen.
Oh, well, okay, I can see that. I see that now. I was assuming that she was talking about having a male birth partner for her who was a friend.
Right.
If he would be comfortable with that.
And I mean, that's a good question to posit if that's not what OP already posited. And I think his reaction already tells the answer that he would not like OP doing this.
Yeah.
And if you have a double standard for your partner, then that's the sign you are not in the right. And I'm very concerned where OP is like, I feel like if it came down to it, he would choose their relationship over me. And that's not a place where you should be with your partner.
I think I have some issues with this whole situation. I don't think that he was wrong for wanting to support his friend. And I think that it's a noble thing to want to help and support your friend. But it also can't be at the expense of your partner either, right? And so I think that this is a difficult and complicated situation, and I certainly think that he, seems like a good person who's trying to do right by his friend. I also think that OP is allowed to be uncomfortable with the situation, and I think that they are fine for pointing out that maybe he has this double standard too, right? Now, I think that OP is right to have some concerns here because if they're already afraid that he will leave OP for her, maybe that's a sign that this relationship isn't the relationship for OP, right? And I think that OP might be competing with this friend because this won't probably be the end of it. Because
no, that's what I was gonna say is like once the baby is here, is he gonna be playing a surrogate dad role?
And I think he will be, right?
And so I think that's an important thing too. Is it's not just about labor at this point in time.
Yeah.
It's about what kind of role is OP going to have or OP's husband going to have in the child's life going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be spending all his time over there raising this kid? And so I think that's a reasonable thing to have concerns about.
Yeah, and I think that OP phrased a lot of things pretty good here because I think if they told their partner these things in this letter, that could go a long way towards making him kind of understand. The thing that I'm kind of worried about is that he seems already so invested in this other person that it might not be a salvageable relationship at this point in time.
I don't think it is. I mean, she's just so ingrained into his life, and it sounds like OP already knows he will choose her,
Yeah.
the friend, over her, and so it's probably at this point in time just best for Opie to walk.
I think it's a really sad situation because it's clear that OP loves him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to become a more and more complicated situation. And I think that if there's any hope of salvaging this relationship, that they need to, go into couples counseling ASAP at this point in time. I don't know that I don't know if there's going to be any salvaging it. I think that there's two people with very different like places in this relationship who are at two very different places in this relationship, and that's going to create a lot of friction, and I feel bad for OP. It's a hard one. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. I'm a cat doing cat stuff says, has he picked out a name for the baby yet? And OP replies, no, but she's always getting his opinion on name options. I mean, that's kind of sounding an awful lot like him being a father in this situation, right?
Well, that's it.
And Demi Dummy says, everyone's in the wrong. However, I understand your concern, and it's uncomfortable, and you need a proper conversation with your boyfriend. But before you do, you need this perspective. I got caught up in something, and I don't know if I caught it, but it sure did affect me personally. She's one of those girls, if you know what I mean, quoting OP. No, we don't know what you mean. There's nothing wrong with being friends with a man. Why? I'm also that girl. I studied and I worked in an industry dominated by men. As a result, my friend circle ended up being mostly men. My interests, my hobbies, and so on. Always had more men than women. I can't help that I enjoy doing this in my life. I don't consider gender/sex to be a qualification for being a friend or best friend. What you said was leaning a bit misogynist without context. It's unfortunate and we need more women instead. And until then, I don't know that many women have the same interests as I do. It has made me a social outcast outside of what I do for a living. It's hard enough making friends with people who are outside my field of expertise and consider themselves ordinary. I'd like to make more friends like that, but also those friendships always seem to flatline at some point. And I definitely am not going to hang on to friends who aren't my friends and treat me like garbage for what I do. Put yourself in her shoes. Maybe you should suggest being there to support her too if he feels strongly and intends to be there. She could also use more friends who are willing to help her, as childbirth is extremely scary and without someone there, it can be traumatizing. I'm a mother of twins, and while my husband didn't vanish on me like that poor woman, it was still frightening. I can only imagine what it would be like to be without someone that I trusted, and I know with the back of my hand, in the same room with me. And OP replies, she's the quote-unquote cool girl who gets along with all the guys, who all the guys like, and who doesn't really have female friends, almost like she avoids female friends. And she manages to be cool and chill enough to fit in with the guys while also being pretty and feminine and attractive. It's like you sort of feel like you have no hope compared to somebody like that, but she somehow manages to have the worst taste in men relationship-wise. It has nothing to do with her career field, as she worked with mostly women. It's her interests and hobbies. Her and my boyfriend are obsessed with rock music, and she was like the only girl he knew as a teenager who actually played instruments, and she was all into the same bands and stuff like that. All the other girls were just fans, but she actually played the instruments, not just one instrument, but guitar, drums, and bass, and was like in bands with these guys. She also loves cars and motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. And I know it's genuine, and I mean she knows too much to be faking it and just get in with guys. I think that she genuinely is into all that stuff, and I can understand how it's probably harder to find other women, especially since she also has added a bond of knowledge with this group of guys since they were in like high school. So what do you think about that comment there? The bandmates. They were bandmates.
I mean, I don't know if I have much to say on there. I mean, I think the person did raise an important comment about the way that OP was framing things, like one of those girls. And it sounds like OP has some insecurities around it.
Yeah.
The way that this woman is able to, like, have these close relationships with the guys, and while also looking very pretty and feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that insecurity is something that's worth working on. But I also do feel like, based on what OP has told us, that there's reason to be concerned here. Like, usually your partner is not picking out baby names with their bestie.
Usually. not the jerk, and that's a really intimate and intense thing to ask. I don't blame you for feeling uncomfortable with this. I would also be questioning the role that he's going to end up having in the child's life. Who's going to help her recover from the childbirth? Help her with the baby after it's born? I can already hear him saying, well, the baby just needs a male role model. I'm like an uncle. She needs extra support right now. Who else can be there to help her right now? This doesn't feel like it's going to end at birth. I would be having some super tough conversations with him and some tough internal conversations with myself about this relationship if he's prioritizing her over your relationship. And Miserable Drive 7896 says, leave all that aside, my paranoid mind would already be questioning the paternity of that baby. And OP replies, I really don't see that being the case, but I've had a few fleeting thoughts like, what if the boyfriend found out the truth and that it's actually why he left? Then I realize that I sound really paranoid. I don't want to be that paranoid, suspicious girlfriend. And OP also replies, yeah, I see this being a problem as well. Then I feel bad for calling it a problem because is it really so wrong for someone to want to support their single parent friend and child? And as long as he's not spending most of his time with them or contributing financially, but where will she draw the line? If she asked him to be there with her when she gives birth, what won't she ask of him?
Well, and I mean, I think that, it's one thing to be part of a village around someone and to help them occasionally drop by with some food or, stop by to check in and whatnot. But I think the problem I'm seeing right now is it seems like she's picked OP's husband and only OP's husband to lean on.
Yeah. Like I said, I just don't know that this relationship is going to last. And I think that OP is desperately clinging on to a relationship that just doesn't, it really has no probable future. And I mean, I can understand them, being in that position. Like, of course she's going to want to fight for her partner. And I think if she does want to fight for her partner, then she needs to sit down with him and have a serious conversation. Find out what he really wants out of life. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What might you call a crow who loves puzzles?
Oh, I would call them a regular crow because all crows like puzzles. You can actually buy little puzzles for crows for them to solve and find little like seeds and nuts and stuff like that in them. So I would just call it a regular old crow.
A nerdy birdie.
A nerdy birdie. That would only be if the crows had glasses.
You have to have glasses to be a nerd?
Yes, period, exclamation mark. No other person in the world can possibly be a nerd if they don't have their nerd glasses on. This is how I know where I stand in life, what my lot in life is. Amber cannot be a nerd, by the way. She does not wear glasses. She has perfect vision. What a shame. What a shame.
Right now, I mean, most people have visual impairments as they get older, so it's only a matter of time before we all join the nerd club.
Maybe.
It's Embrace Your Geekness Day today.
Ooh, so embrace your geekness like me.
And also Barn Day.
Barn Day? Yeah, go find a barn to throw all your geeks into.
What? That took a weird turn.
If you're not a geek, then make sure to make the most out of this day by locking them into a barn.
No.
I'm no longer a geek, by the way, and yes, Amber is. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday, folks. It's pretty special. You know what makes it special? You do, and Amber does too.
And Brian does too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on being not such a good partner.
Make sure to take your partner's comfort into consideration when planning new home designs.
And other life decisions.
Yes.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the USS Redditprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new Reddit stories, to seek out new entertainment and new Reddit users, and to boldly go where no vlog podcast has gone before.